Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's studentloanjustice.org live stream. It is Wednesday, May 11th. Am I off by a day? It's May 12th. Sorry about that. Pandemic. Hey, so let's see. First of all, well, I'm worried. I'm very worried. And you should be too. Million signatures now. We picked up about 30,000 signatures just in the past 10 days or so. We've been featured on including Yahoo News, Business Insider twice, CNBC, and some other stuff. And we're working on some local stories too. So that's all. Very glad that's happening. But folks, I'm telling you right now, I'm very worried. We've been doing this for 16 years now, folks, and I'm thrilled that our petition has been as successful as it has, and that now Joe Biden is at least mouthing the words loan cancellation, where a year ago he wouldn't even entertain the prospect of returning bankruptcy to student loans. But here's the trick that I am very worried about being played on us, and it is being played on us as we speak. The establishment would like to pass a nonsensical, meaningless loan cancellation thing, whether it's by executive order or not yet, we don't know. But whatever it is, the way it is framed right now, this up to $50,000, up to $10,000, it's just nonsense. It's ridiculous. It will wind up meaning almost nothing. Up to can mean anything. And if the Department of Education has its way, it will mean almost nothing for almost everyone. So we saw this before with the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, right? 99% of the people are being rejected. Way over 99% of the people who've tried for any of the income-driven repayment plans since 1991, like 99.99% of the people trying for those have been disqualified, didn't get the forgiveness. If there's one thing the Department of Education is good at, it's at not canceling loans. So what they would like, and the one thing they fear more than anything is the return of bankruptcy protections to these loans. The stripping of bankruptcy lies at the core of this problem. So what the bad guys, and they are out there, and they've got a lot of money and they've got a lot of resources, what they would love, hey, Debbie, how you doing? Yeah, Debbie knows all too well about public service loan fiasco. It's not forgiveness, it's fiasco. What the bad guys would love to do is foist some ridiculous loan cancellation on us so they can clink the champagne and balloons fall from the ceiling and ticker tape parades and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, nobody actually gets the forgiveness. And oh, by the way, keep bankruptcy gone from the loans. We've been doing it, as I said, 16 years, guys. We have seen the Department of Education fight, scratch, and bite bitterly to keep bankruptcy gone from these loans. Now, last congressional session, we actually had a great piece of legislation that made it all the way through the House Judiciary Committee. Quite frankly, it could have been brought up for a full vote by the House, and I think it would have passed. I'm quite sure it would have passed, even with some Republican support. This session, we have yet to see a bankruptcy bill hit the streets. We have yet to see bankruptcy legislation introduced. Now, last session, bankruptcy legislation was introduced like around May 10th of the first year of the session. Well, now here we are on May 12th, not May 11th, May 12th, and we do not have any bankruptcy legislation out yet. Now, we are keeping in very close contact with numerous members of Congress. And it's just a feeling, guys, but I feel like we're getting screwed. We may not even, I don't know. I'm worried. I'm very worried. My spider senses are tingling. And so, guys, may very well get screwed on this. Now, a lot of that completely depends on how hard we on this group fight. I'm not kidding you. You know, we brought the public debate to where it is today, from not even getting Joe Biden to even talk about bankruptcy to not only adopting bankruptcy in his presidential campaign and also pledging to cancel student loans. So we've come a long ways. But guys, how hard this group fights may very well determine the outcome, whether we get screwed, whether we don't. Now, I've looked at the other groups out there. None of them are talking about bankruptcy. It's ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with those groups. I don't speak for them. I know at least one of those groups is just completely corrupted, certainly. So we can't count on anybody else. We have to count on ourselves. We certainly can't count on the people in Washington, D.C., because by and large, whether they're D's or R's, they're all in on it together. That's just the truth. So how hard we fight right now really, 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 really matters. We've got to get some very serious pressure put on Congress to return bankruptcy protections to student loans, and also on President Biden to issue an executive order, and also his aide, Richard Cordray, who supposedly is a good guy. He's the former head of the CFPB. Worthless on federal student loans. But we would love to see Cordray slash Joe Biden administratively return bankruptcy protections to these. The thing is legislation, guys. So I'm worried. I'm worried. I'm very worried. These are the critical weeks and months that could very well tell the tale for this problem. So obviously are pushing Congress very hard to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. Cancel loans and return bankruptcy by, I mean, me and Ed and people that I am aware of that are actually doing the work necessary to get that done. Am I talking about you or am I not? I mean, that really is the most important question. What is everybody out there doing? If you're sitting there and waiting and watching and worrying, you may as well just get the F off our group right now. We can't use you. That's just useless. Nobody's going to pull your weight for you. So on that, there are some very constructive and I would say very fun to do actions that you can help us with right now. For example, we are pushing the governors of those 18 states that owe more in student loan debt than their entire state budgets. Most of them are Republican. Yesterday, with the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. Today, we're pushing Roy Holcomb, governor of Indiana. And for the next 16 days, we're going to be pushing all the governors of all those states. There's only like 3 Democrats. All the rest are Republicans. We're going to need your help on this. And so somewhere around here, you can see it for yourself. Go to that link. Instructions are there. It's very easy. It'll take you like literally about 15 tweet to today is the governor of Indiana. Yesterday was the governor of Florida. You can find all those tweets. Just go to some media. Media today, like Miami Herald or whoever. Be smart, be creative, think for yourself, right? Can chew gum and think for ourselves at the same time. That I think could be the thing that wins this for us totally. When we can get even one Republican governor to say, you know what? No more. I'm not doing this anymore. I will not let my state be wrecked by the federal government under these nonsense loans. I think that could actually turn everything for us on. So do that. That's a very simple action. And get into the habit of doing this for the next of all the other states that owe more in student loan debt than their entire state budget. That is a huge headline. Hey, Debbie, we have a comment here. We have a couple comments. Who think it will all get fixed is the reason our country is in trouble. Yes, right. Debbie continues. Computer and get involved. Do something. Write the media. Call government officials. Scream and bitch like crazy. And there's more. Oh, it's up to us, Debbie says. And, you know, Debbie, salute. Debbie knows. Debbie is a fighter. And I think Debbie would tell you it's cathartic. It feels good to fight. Like right governors actually know that their states owe more in student loans than their entire state budget. I don't think even 3 of the governors know that. So you telling them is bringing them new information that they should be very happy to learn. You know, these guys are governors. You know, they're looking out for their state. They're not in love with the federal government. If they want to get reelected, they'll do right by their citizens. And by the way, this is not a Republican or Democratic issue. Right now, the Democrats have essentially tricked the Republicans to being on the wrong side of this argument. But really, it's a conservative argument that we're making. This is federal debt. Republican governors don't care for the federal government. They're looking out for their states. And this is a big government monstrosity, by the way. Conservatives don't like big government. Conservatives do not like big government. They also do not like the colleges, by and large, right? Because the colleges are indoctrinating our kids and all those terrible things that they say. And that may be true. I don't know. We don't take a position on that issue. But what I do know is that conservatives should not be defending and perpetuating this big government college enriching lending scam, particularly to the detriment of their state. You know, 55% of all student loan borrowers, they're not Antifa, they're not, some radical fringe liberal groups. They're not. 55% of all student loan borrowers identify, at least 55% of everybody who with some college identify as being either Republican or independent. So it's like 43% Republican, 12% independent. So there is no good reason for any governor, but particularly the governors in the states that are mentioned in that link, shouldn't be on our side. Just one governor, stand up, say, Mr. President, I've had enough, cancel these loans. Maybe we can get 4 or 5 governors to do a joint call to the president, a joint letter, a joint something. Strengthen numbers. The governors need support as well. So that's what we're doing, guys. That's what we're pushing for. We're pushing the governors right now super hard. In fact, I'm almost even laying off Biden right now because the people in Washington, D.C. they have their heads so far up their asses. We'll continue to push them. But right now, guys, we have to get out in the country where we live. Governor of Florida, Indiana, Georgia is the worst. Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, many others. There's a few liberal states in there too, by the way. There's like Michigan, and it's just like half and half. New Hampshire, Illinois, believe it or not, is on that list. So, but they tend to be mostly southern states. Nevada also is on the list. Colorado is on the list. We've got to get to these governors, guys. It truly is low-hanging fruit. This is uncharted territory that we're in right now. We are making history. I kid you not. Nobody's ever done this before. But it's just common sense. We're on the right side. The Constitution is on our side. Hey, we have another comment here from Sierra Schmaus. Sierra says, I have emailed the president, vice president, senators, and many news stations, but I don't have Twitter. I hear you. I actually hate Twitter, Sierra, and so I'm right there with you on that. Right. I mean, we're smart in this group. We can think for ourselves. You know, there's Facebook. There's, you name the platform, Instagram. There's literally calling the White House. There's going to whitehouse.gov/contact. Go there too. But, you know, even more important than all that, I think, like we've got a ton of media lately, right? The media should be our friend. The media should be helping us. So by us getting news reports in all the local media of all those states, that will really help. And we've got a couple that are about to pop. We've popped the cherry in Texas already. There's a few other stories I've been hearing there. We're working on Ohio and Georgia. But, we need way more media. We just do. And, it's actually not that hard to convince the media to report, certainly on the fact that their state owes more in student loan debt than the entire total state budget. I mean, that is a groundbreaking story. What I have noticed, quite frankly, is some of the media that I've contacted, they almost seem a little scared to report the story because, they don't want to cause a big stir, but they know it is a big story. And the truth is going to come out sooner or later. But again, guys, it really depends on how hard we, meaning you, are pushing. Debbie, nobody's paying Debbie. No, we're a completely volunteer organization. As a statesman, you should be pretty pissed. What kind of state allows its citizens to be conquered and enslaved by federal debt? I truly think everybody watching this has a duty, even if they don't have, and say, Governor, how could you let this happen? Not right. This is never right. There's no universe in which this. And all the data supports us, by the way, by every rational metric or measure. The numbers don't lie. And we are looking at a default rate of something like 75%, even before this pandemic. That's before the pandemic. 75% default rate. What do you think it is? 30, 40, 50%? It was bad, right? Yeah. The default rate for some 15%. And we now have hard data showing that even before the pandemic, we were headed for a 75% default rate. So I'm telling you guys, the only reason this problem isn't solved is because 9 out on this group aren't fighting hard enough to get the truth out. So, hey, Debbie has another comment. We had about 15 state attorney generals file amicus briefs in support of the Weingarten DeVos case. They know what's going on. Hit them up. Great point, Debbie. I see these attorneys general filing. And that's all good and well, but guys, I'm telling you, we've been doing this for a long time. And the attorneys general, the legislation that we're seeing the states come up with, I'm sorry, but it's just lame. And most of the attorney general's actions that we have seen going back to 2006, when Attorney General Spitzer of New York, followed by that class action, we've seen them with some successes, but by and large, they haven't really benefited the borrowers very much at all. What we typically see are settlements where, much like the tobacco settlements, the states wind up getting pardon my French, but a shitload of money. But that money never actually makes it back to the victims. You know what I'm saying? The people being harmed. So, but attorneys general have a loud voice, and they have already demonstrated a willingness to act in. Absolutely, by all means, let us contact not only the governors, but also the attorney generals of those 18 states. And, that's a great idea, Debbie. We will come after we get through with hitting the governors. Just remind me, yeah, that's something that we need to do. But, don't wait for us, guys. These are your loans. Skills, talents, networks, and other factors. We need you in this fight. We are pioneers on this, like it or not. And what we do really matters. So, in the immortal words of fictional character John Connors in Terminator, 3. You have no idea how important you are. You know, it only takes one good letter, one email, one conversation with maybe it's a governor's aide, maybe it's the governor himself, herself. Who knows? Maybe it's one well written article, one good news story that you make happen that could be the domino that tips everything. You know, that's how critical mass this thing is at, guys. Who knows what it's going to be that finally takes this house of cards down, this federal student lending system, which is done. It's toast. It's finished. There's no saving it. It's got to go away one way or the other. We want it to go away the clean way. So let your efforts be the one that makes that happen. Important you are, or how important you could be. So we're fighting the right fight, guys. 45 million people and their families are on our side, whether they know it or not. I would love to have 10 million people on this petition, but I'm going to talk about that another night. I think I've said everything I had to say tonight. I'm going to keep it short. We're at 20 minutes. So you know what to do. Godspeed, and God bless everybody. Let's get this done.